Great news, everybody. I just canceled my HBO Max subscription, but since I have it until January, I figured I might as well use it to its fullest potential, starting with watching all of the Ghibli movies. And you know what? I'm gonna start with the first Ghibli movie, Castle in the Sky. Alright, I'm ready to watch some Ghibli. I have to say, Ghibli, step up your castle game. Okay, you don't need an introduction to Studio Ghibli. It's one of the most influential animation studios ever, let alone 2D animation, okay? Listen, look at the Studio Ghibli food, okay? Now you understand why they're so great. Studio Ghibli made some of the most interesting animations ever, some of the most unique, the most creative, fascinating stuff. But we're not here to talk about Studio Ghibli because I looked on their Wikipedia article and I saw that they succeeded another company. And I said, what company is that? And it said Topcraft. And I said, what's Topcraft? And they said, we don't know either. I'm serious, there's hardly any information about Topcraft. When I look on the Wikipedia article, there is exactly 2 paragraphs of information and it ran out of information. You can try looking at the references, you can try looking up Topcraft on the fucking Google. Is my knowledge of Topcraft only Wikipedia deep? Yeah, but you know, I tried Googling it. I couldn't find other stuff. If you can, you know, be my guest, but come on, it's Wikipedia. And even when you go to the Studio Ghibli Wikipedia article, they also only have 2 paragraphs about Topcraft. But here's what I can gather about Topcraft. Topcraft was an animation company made in 1972 by someone named Toru Hara, who was a Toei animation producer. Topcraft was a Japanese animation studio that helped collaborate with other studios and companies to mostly assist in animation. They focused more on being the outsource of animation rather than making anything original. Most notably Rankin Bass, and they help with things like Lord of the Rings or The Last Unicorn, I'm pretty sure. And they also did the Jackson 5 show in the Osmonds. They did the Osmonds. Oh my gosh. Did you know one of the Osmonds made that song from Mulan? You probably didn't know that because you probably don't know who the Osmonds are. But somehow, one way or another, in 1985, the studio went bankrupt and it split into 2 successors, Studio Ghibli and Pacific Animation Corporation, which was bought by Disney in 1988 to become Disney Animation Japan. And that's where it gets fuzzy. I don't know where the connection between Topcraft and Ghibli exactly forms. It's very vague, but the most I can gather is Tokuma Shoten, which is a company. They saw the success of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind and they said, hey, just take what you have, make a new studio, we'll back it up. But even then, aside from co-production, collaborative efforts, just focusing on their main productions, things they primarily produce, they have 5, one of which being Nausicaa, and the other 4 I'll get around to. I tried to find a correlating crew between anyone that worked on this movie with the other 4 productions I saw, and I found almost nothing except for 2 people, one of which was Joe Hisashi. If you know him, he's the primary composer for Studio Ghibli, and he helped compose music for a Japanese adaptation of The Wizard of Oz. And I'll get to that later, but for now I want to focus on this other guy. Megumi Ishiguro is someone who was a key animator on Grave of the Fireflies, and apparently he also worked on something else by Topcraft. He helped create animation on a show produced by Topcraft called The Adventures of the Little Koala. I looked it up, I found an archive of 49 episodes. I'm assuming that's the entire series. It's free to watch on YouTube, which goes for everything else I'm going to talk about. And we're gonna work our way up from talking about a TV show to a TV special to a full Topcraft movie that isn't Nausicaa, it's The Wizard of Oz. We'll get to that. I looked at one of my notes and all I wrote was, it's a really. Alright, that's all I have to say about that. On to the next. You know, it's really hard to comment on anything. The theme song is maybe 2 seconds long. The animal characters are cute. Oh, look at the bunny character. Isn't the bunny cute? There's a platypus. Aw, they got so many cute animals. Also, there's this koala lady. She's kind of bad. I only watched the first episode, so I'm just gonna give a little rundown of that. There's like a big storm that happens, and apparently it destroys the city's clock tower. You know, it just messes it up. And the townsfolk have an idea. Fundraise money to fix the clock tower for its birthday. It's almost turning 99 years old. The town's created a bake sale in order to fundraise money so they can build a clock tower again. And then there's these kangaroos who you kind of assume they're bullies, but they're just like, hey, they're celebrating the clock tower, and my birthday is on the same day that the clock tower was made. Let's help rebuild the clock tower because everyone will love that. So they go to the bake sale with a log, and everyone's like, oh no, there's something going on. You can't do that. The bake sale's happening. You can't do that. But they don't explain what's going on to them, so they take it personally. But then the townsfolk is just like, oh, you're just carrying a log. Go somewhere else. And they're like, we're just trying to help with the clock tower. But then they're like, oh, we got some guys already. So then the kangaroos are like, okay, fine, we'll go somewhere else since you don't want our help. And then the father koala's like, oh, you can stay, but make sure you behave yourself. They were trying to help. Then they see a cake and they go, hey, we'll buy that cake since it's a bake sale. Oh, but that one's not for sale. It's a birthday cake. But because the kangaroos are being fucked over for trying to help, they assume it's just because the townsfolk don't want their ass. And Mama Koala just calls them spoiled, even though know, they have a cake at a bake sale. Oh, but that cake's not for sale. Yeah, I would assume prejudice. At this point, the kangaroo just goes up to the cake and grabs it because everyone's fucking gaslighting him. But oh no, the other two kids grab the cake too with him, and they spill the fucking thing, and the kangaroo becomes a shooter and throws the cake at everyone. If he had a gun at this point, there would have been at least 5 bodies. Later, the kids finally understand that they're arrogant pieces of shit. I don't know what they did to that guy before, but when he gets a surprise gift for his birthday, his first instinct that it's some sort of trap or a prank, but it's a cake and the kids sing happy birthday to him. Oh my gosh, the guy in the clock tower didn't get fixed in the episode. I don't know what happened to it. I didn't watch more of this. And also, it's just kind of difficult to watch. Really, I feel like this only exists for archival purposes at this point. I mean, you can watch it. More than anything, I'm surprised this was actually dubbed for an American audience. So that was The Adventures of the Little Koala. There's another show they worked on called, Barpa Papa. I could be a lot more scholarly about, but I saw the theme song.
Did you miss that? Baba Papa, Baba Mama, Baba Zoo, Baba Lala, Baba Lid, Baba Bo, Baba Bell, Baba Bright, Baba Bravo.
I can't watch any more of this, because if I do, the magic is ruined. Listen, the thing that makes the Glob Glow Gab Galab so beautiful is that I know nothing else about it except that little clip in the movie. I don't know what the movie is, I don't want to know what the movie is, I only want to know the movie for that specific scene, and I feel the same way about this theme. I'm going to assume it was really popular in the Netherlands and Brazil. Let's get into things like I actually took notes for. There was this TV special that Topcraft apparently helped produce called Easter Fever. It was made in 1980. It was a special made in collaboration with Nelvana. Again, I couldn't find anyone that worked on this that worked on anything Ghibli related. And apparently it was a part of 6 television specials. This was the 5th one. I don't know what the 4 specials were before these, but I know what the 6th one is. The 6th series was called Take Me Up to the Ball Game, which I didn't watch all of it, but it's about this baseball team that goes to space, I'm pretty sure. The animation style is really similar to Easter Fever. I'm not really sure, you know, how much of a style Topcraft had, because I don't really see anything they did that was like significantly different from what I saw in this other special, which maybe that means they did their job really well. There's a few character designs I really like. There's this one character that has a camera for a head.
Skibidi Toilet Season 24, Secret Scenes. Now, I don't know if there's any remastered fights. What is this, Lucky Cameraman? Hold on, go back. I didn't see the sleeve. I didn't see the sleeve for real. Go back. Hold on, let me restart the scene. Turn on subtitles.
So it's actually a pretty creative story about how the Easter Bunny came to be. It was a rabbit that was abandoned and raised by chickens, and then one Christmas the chickens gave him an egg, which he thought Santa left, but I don't know. Santa's actually real in this universe, but for some reason he just didn't give the Easter Bunny a gift. Maybe Santa really does just hate poor people. But regardless, he was inspired by Santa leaving him an egg, which is why the Easter Bunny leaves eggs too. He's like, hey, I want to be just like Santa Claus, and he leaves eggs everywhere, which he doesn't. But you know, the Easter Bunny didn't know that because that's all he knew growing up. I don't know if this speaks more on behalf of Japanese animation studios, but the animation for a TV special is actually really good. There's nothing notable I noticed, but compared to for a studio that worked on fucking Rankin Bass, this feels like it's significantly better. Regarding the actual rabbit, I think they were trying to make him similar to the Pink Panther in terms of how he looks. Maybe they were trying to make this bigger than it was supposed to be. I'm not sure. Maybe they really wanted their version of the Easter Bunny to be something special. I specifically noted at 1640 they have a song that is basically a Pink Panther ripoff. I'll just play that. I don't remember how it sounds.
Eggs Benedict. This tastes like the work of that wacko, Madame Maleg, the TV show.
And also, the Easter Bunny is black. But it took me a while to realize this because the first thing the Easter Bunny does is sing a song. But the music in this special is made by John Sebastian. And if you don't know who that is, they literally could not have gotten a whiter person to make music.
The time flies by so swiftly when you're having fun, delivering those Easter eggs.
Man, you did everything you could to make my life a downright drag.
But as for the actual special, it starts off with a parody of Celebrity Roast that they did in the 70s, specifically the roast of Dean Martin. It was made in 1980, but it feels like one of the most 70s things I've ever seen. I don't know, I watched these. Don Rickles would just like tell Frank Sinatra to die of cancer and everyone would just laugh. Don Rickles is one of the most like, I've never felt a bigger generational gap with a comedian than I have with Don Rickles. Like, I don't understand anything he says ever and everyone just laughs at him.
I said, hey, I came in to see this guy. Call my wife a moose. I don't need that, you know.
I've never felt more lost with a comedian in my life. Rest in peace. If I'm being completely honest, this special feels like the anti-Ghibli film simply for the fact that it uses pop culture. And even though I haven't seen every Ghibli movie, in fact, I could make a video about how many Ghibli films I haven't seen, I can tell you that Ghibli probably does not use pop culture, at least not this blatantly and this aging. The rabbit finds love, he finds a beautiful babe that he can't stop chasing after, and then there was this gang battle, and then apparently, I think it was a rat. I'm gonna be honest, it was a while since I've watched this. I've had this video cooking. I don't know, there's this rat who jumped the rabbit in an alleyway. He did like an actual criminal activity, but then he's just on the celebrity roast and he's just reminiscing about almost killing this guy, and everyone's just like, hi, that's weird, haha. Okay, back to your seat. It gives the backstory of the Easter Bunny through memories, but also the main setting is a celebrity roast. It has this weird effect where it feels like a clip show without the clips. It feels like one of those Simpsons episodes. And during the celebrity roast, there's this aardvark who's working in a kitchen who really wants to meet Jack the Rabbit. The idea is that he's doing this roast because he's about to retire, and thus Easter's going to retire, and the aardvark does not want that to happen. Honestly, what I thought was going to happen was they were going to like anoint a new Easter Bunny, because they did that in one of the flashbacks where they were doing tryouts for a new Easter Bunny. No, they're just going to retire Easter. Easter was just going to be no more. Once this guy stops, Easter stops, okay? No more eggs for you, pal. And I thought because they focused so much on this aardvark, he was going to be the new Easter Bunny, or like the Easter aardvark, I don't know. But no, he just gives the Easter Bunny an egg and he says, this is the last egg of Easter, because once you retire, there's gonna be no more Easter. And then the Easter Bunny's like, oh my gosh, no more Easter. Well, fuck it. Let me just not retire then. And that's exactly what happens. I will say, in all sincerity, this is like it was fun to watch. I didn't feel forced to watch this. There's this part where he's about to get run over by a TV chef, but he saves himself by cutting the commercial. That is fucking brilliant. I don't know if they ever plan to do anything else with this rabbit, but you know what? I like the special. Was it a cute? Was it a win? Was it a fail? I'm gonna give this a cute. Did I mention this somewhere? Okay, one of the other things that Topcraft worked on, like they assisted in, was in part of their contributive works, they worked on Lupin the Third Part 2. And if you didn't know, one of the directors of Lupin the Third was actually Hayao Miyazaki. Miyazaki was one of the directors for Lupin the Third. And Topcraft worked on that. So that's another thing you can kind of connect, sort of. And that's how I'm assuming he found Joe Hisashi, was through his composition in The Wizard of Oz. What can I say about the Japanese version of The Wizard of Oz? Oh, well, I have notes for that. So initially this was planned to be released in theaters, but it was scrapped instead for a straight-to-home release. And what do I have to say about the movie? It's The Wizard of Oz. Yep. That is The Wizard of Oz. I'll say this, there's a passion put into this. It feels, genuine. It feels like an adaptation of The Wizard of Oz. But, it's a good enough adaptation. In all honesty, there is a charm put into this that gives it an innocence needed to make a proper Wizard of Oz adaptation. I think it's good enough that there's going to be at least a few comments where they say they prefer this version to the original. I want to say seeds planted for Studio Ghibli were established in this movie, including the more Western inspiration of their previous material being put into an anime context. But the only seed planted is just the composer. He's the only thing in relation to Studio Ghibli. Talking about the soundtrack, it's definitely a lot more contemporary in terms of how it sounds. There's this girl that sings. She fucking sucks at singing.
No one else believed what I just knew, and now it's all come true.
It sounds like an early 80s soundtrack. It sounds like synthesizers, but in terms of the animation, there was absolutely no relation between people who worked on this and people who went on to work for Studio Ghibli. All but one member of the animation department is only credited with the animated Wizard of Oz, and no one else has done anything ever. But the art director for the Wizard of Oz was Shigeru Kobayashi, who didn't work on anything Ghibli related, but he was an art director for Lupin the Third, The Castle of Cagliostro. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anyone really knows how the ashes of Topcraft went on to become Studio Ghibli, maybe except for Toru Hara, but he died. But he created and worked for that studio, and he eventually became Studio Ghibli's first manager, so he's been doing something right. I did neglect to mention Nausicaa, but that's considered more of a Ghibli movie nowadays, and for the most part, that movie's cast is completely separate from anything else I could find. No one from Easter Fever worked on Nausicaa is what I'm saying. But really, I just made this because I never heard anyone talk about this, and I think it's cool to see animation that still exists, but no one's really found it. I wish I had more to say about The Wizard of Oz, but unfortunately it's The Wizard of Oz. If it was something like The Wiz, I would have more to say about it, where it's like it does its own spin of The Wizard of Oz, or maybe it's like Return to Oz, which I haven't watched. I don't know, the movie feels like 5,000 likes, I'll watch every Ghibli movie and I'll make a video about it. It'll take forever to make. Look at this box. Look at this box of my subscribers. Anime forever.